invaluable, and I'd put Penn Elfline in that same category. If you had trying to break in a new quarterback, a new center, you're probably not. You have no shot. But the fact that you have some stability, and you think of when we did have some injuries in 14, like our quarterback spot, to throw JT in there with, if you had a new center, new offensive line, all that wouldn't have been fair. But, the fact that those two guys are back, we have a shot. And I think we have a decent shot to be good on offense. And a lot, not a lot, it's really mostly to do with those two guys coming back.
Also, just how did they come back today after a week off for spring?
Good. We ran them pretty good yesterday to make sure they were good today.
Front row left, Blake.
Urban, you compared this spring to the 2014 spring in terms of what you need to see in terms of development and young guys sort of seizing the opportunity. Through this point, just a couple practices in, have those parallels continued? Do you still see it as
it's too
similar
early to
that?
tell. I did use examples, which I do quite often from. It was ridiculous when I started writing it down. Curtis Grant, Stevie Miller, Von Bell, Tyvus Powell, Eli Apple, Darren Lee. All these new names that never played it down for us really. And then on offense, you have Mike Thomas, Zeke Elliott, and all these players that became very good players for us. So I hope it happens.
Back row middle, Jared.
Urban, we talked to you briefly after Pro Day, but in the weeks since Pro Day and the time since then, is there a player or two in that group that went through Pro Day who you've been asked about maybe more the most from scouts? Just curiosity, things they want your insight on, a guy that they particularly liked from that event.
Yeah, I think the two wild cards are Cardell and Braxton. They're the ones that don't have enough tape. We get asked about quite a bit. Very proud of them. Most of them came in after and said not only are they tremendous players, but their interviews are over the top. Their knowledge of football, their understanding of fundamentals. That's a credit to our assistant coaches and Coach Maratti. It made you feel good. I left here, last Friday, feeling great. And some good friends of mine said, wow, those guys. And when Troy Vincent came out, when he spoke to the team, he said, Ohio State players are ready for the NFL. And that means, and the success rate's been really good, so we're just going to keep that going.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, obviously with Zeke the last couple of years, you guys had a great tailback to hand the ball to. Maybe not handing the ball to the H-backs quite as much as maybe you have at other times in your career. With a less established tailback this coming season, would you like to get the H's more involved in the run game?
Yeah, Dontre and Curtis, Curtis and Braxton. Dontre has that sore foot still, but he'll be full speed next week. They're going through tailback drills. I don't know if you saw today because Dontre wasn't full speed. Curtis not going, but absolutely, you'll see Curtis and Dontre carry the ball. Very good, but like when we had Carlos Hyde and then Zeke Elliott at Florida, I didn't have those two guys. We had to create running with some other guys, and so I think a little bit more of that this year.
And I'm trying to figure out a way to ask this. I want to phrase it the right way. The women's basketball team is in the Sweet 16, and they pressure team. They press on defense. They attack on offense right away. And when their coach was talking about it the other day, it maybe reminded me a little bit of what you guys do when you spread the field offensively in the spread, then you get up tempo. On defense, you want to the press coverage. You want it. Just the idea of putting pressure on your opponent in any sport. I mean, I know that's kind of what everybody does. Could you just speak about that when you really take it to the other team on both sides of the ball?
Well, there's risk reward to all that. It's very simple to say we're going to. I think that's a great question. That's a fundamental. You can't just say we're going to do that. And I certainly can't act like I know about basketball, but I get your question, and I think that's because teams have tried it. I'm sure there's a team. Let's go attack in basketball, and they just get their tails kicked in because we're not ready for it. There's teams. If you put two bad corners out there and want to play forward press, watch what happens. And so it's got to make sure it's not just an idea. It's got to be a program-wide philosophy. That's a very good question. But that's when I first came. This is what we want to be. Were we able to do that in 2012? Not at all, because it just wasn't built for that yet. It takes a little time, and recruiting those type of players, and then having a strength coach that's also. When we say 4 to 6, A to B, that's the same way we train in the weight room. It's a program philosophy, not a play. I think that's a really interesting story if you did something on that about the different sports. But our women's basketball coach is not the first person said we're gonna go out and be aggressive. You know, everybody wants, I imagine most people want to do that.
And last questions, Tim?
Herman, if you took the field, it looked like Demetrius Knox was at right guard today, Isaiah Prince at right tackle. What did you see from the offensive line as full
Yeah,
pad?
Evan Lyle was sick today, he'll be back, he's
Yeah.
battling for that spot. You know, Isaiah Prince, you know, he's gotta perform like a first stringer, he's got all the ability in the world, and he tries hard, he's just not where he needs to be, so. My initial reaction, a little disappointed with the offensive line today, but I'll know more after watching it.
Yeah.
But, not where we need to be, certainly talented enough, but the right guard's not solidified yet.
JT, you were asked about JT Walker. What does having that returning starting quarterback, specifically the returning starting quarterback, and a guy that's been your starter, but he's never been the guy in the spring, you know, because of different reasons and stuff. What is the benefit of having that fellow be the leader out there in the spring?
Well, also the leader in the weight room in the offseason, that's
Yeah.
why he named him captain immediately after the season, because his value is so much more than running and throwing. His value is, he's one of the best leaders we've ever had. So, once again, to double up on his question earlier, is that it's probably unfair to say we have no shot, but you're replacing that position and center. It's fair to say no shot, at least the first 4 or 5 games.
Are you liking what you're seeing from Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
And what does that mean when you say that? What do you mean? I mean,
Well,
what's
we
he doing?
scrimmage on Saturday, and I'm anxious to see it perform.
Yeah.
His release is much better than it was. His arm strength's still not up to par, but he's, you know, as you would expect, a kid like that who really cares and really tries, and noticeable improvement.
And you came up last night. You came up to us the other day at the pro day, and you named a couple guys: Austin Mack, Riante Dunn, and Jamarco Jones. Was there somebody out there today that just caught your eye? I mean, that you're you know.
Malik Cooker, I thought was really good today. Denzel Ward, I feel good about. We have 3 corners that our coaches feel very good about. That's Marshawn Lattimore, Denzel Ward, and obviously Garyon. So that was, Marshawn's got to stay healthy because he is so talented.
Coach, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, everybody.